Hello, my name is Tom. Elder Scrolls Legends is a CCG, or collectible card game, a digital one, online. Some people would describe this game genre as a cross between chess and poker, Texas Hold'em. Magic the Gathering was the big collectible card game in the 90s. All these other franchises you might have heard of where you collect cards, Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh! They were all trying to compete with Magic the Gathering's success, as far as I understand. Those are the two that I remember being heavily marketed to kids in my childhood. And it was only in recent years that I realised both were trying to piggyback on Magic's success. With things like Kickstarter growing in the last few years and community-funded projects taking off, board games are as big and as popular as they've ever been. And Magic the Gathering is one of the biggest brands in cardboard gaming, and it really hasn't gotten any less popular since the 90s. Maybe a smaller percentage of gamers take an interest, but there are more and more gamers existing on the planet every year. The creators of World of Warcraft, Blizzard, started their own card game in 2014, Hearthstone, attempting to rival Magic the Gathering with an online presence where Magic hadn't made the most of the internet's existence. I think because it wouldn't be as profitable for them as the physical cards are. So I actually played Hearthstone first. I liked it, but I somehow ended up getting into paper Magic the Gathering, which I liked even more. I loved the deck building possibilities with the massive card pool available from over 20 years of card set releases that Magic the Gathering has since its inception. But as a lot of people who have taken an interest in Magic the Gathering know, it is one of the most expensive hobbies out there for nerds. They have perfected a model where if your cards are 2 years old or more, they are illegal for play in what's known as standard format, the most common format that Magic the Gathering is played in, both socially and in tournaments. There are other formats such as Commander and Pauper, which I won't go into, but they have both been created by the Magic community, the players themselves, in response to having decades of cards stashed away that are illegal for play, / wanting to mix the game up to experience new avenues of fun from the money they've already invested. Long story short, I stopped buying Magic the Gathering cards to save money because you really do have to spend at least £50 a year to keep up with standard, and that's a lot of money on one game, and unless you spend even more or swap cards with other players all the time, you're probably going to lose most of your matches. They release just under 1,000 cards a year on average, and I fell behind with the card knowledge and stopped going to local meetups where the physical card game is played some point in early 2016. So I was kind of missing playing regularly, and as someone who played a bit of Morrowind, a lot of Oblivion, a lot of Skyrim, and a fair amount of Elder Scrolls Online, obviously I was drawn in when the Elder Scrolls Legends beta came out later the same year. Back then there were only 200 cards or so, not entirely sure how many we had. But in the 2 years since then we have had big expansions themed around Skyrim, the Dark Brotherhood, Clockwork City, and most recently the Houses of Morrowind. As you can see in front of you, these are they kind of update the menu every time a new card, a large expansion comes out, and these are kind of characters from Morrowind, Dark Elves. So all of those 4 big expansions are popular and familiar Elder Scrolls themes. And now the total unique cards in Elder Scrolls Legends is around 1,000. I'm not entirely sure on the number, I couldn't find it online anywhere. But I really love the direction that the game is heading in. in terms of deck building, being creative with your strategy, and being able to try out new tactics, making new decks all the time. Let's not forget that this is a free game. You only spend money on unlocking the same things faster or cosmetic upgrades. In my opinion, this game has more deck building possibilities of different strategies and fun card combinations than Hearthstone or Gwent, and the only thing better than Elder Scrolls Legends for this that I'm aware of is Magic the Gathering, but we are also talking about a difference of hundreds of pounds if you were to collect 1,000 or more cards in Magic the Gathering. And with physical cards that are valuable, you want to put them in plastic sleeves to protect them, and then you need to sleeve the whole deck to keep the cards unidentifiable from the back, and a deck's worth of sleeves is around £5. So if you want to have 10 different decks you can play, you're talking around spending £50 just to keep them protected and clean. And don't get me started on the costs of actual deck boxes as well, and the storage space they will take up in your house. I've still got a whole drawer of Magic the Gathering cards in my house, and I sold any cards that were worth more than £2 to try and recoup some of the money that I spent over the roughly 2 years that I played, and I think that was only 20 or 30 cards. I really hadn't been that lucky with the hundreds I'd spent on packs over those years. So you can see why a free digital card game would appeal to myself and other players. So much easier on the player's wallet and time management. I don't have to get the bus home late at night after playing 5 matches at a public meetup with strangers, or spend 10 minutes sleeving each new deck I build. Another key point for me, something I love about Elder Scrolls Legends, decks are 50 cards minimum. Hearthstone is 30, Gwent is 25, Magic the Gathering is 60, but often around 20 of these cards are land cards, the equivalent of mana or magicka. Again, a concept heavily copied by Pokemon, with those energy cards you'd get in packs, which would have water or grass or fire. That's it on the card. That's the ones I'm talking about for Magic the Gathering. You've got swamps, islands, mountains. Don't remember all of them off the top of my head. But yeah, so in a Magic the Gathering deck, you've only got around 40 cards, which are the main source of your entertainment in a Magic deck when playing a game. And yeah, Elder Scrolls Legends, a deck minimum is 50 cards. So in my opinion, Elder Scrolls Legends is better where you have the potential for more card combinations occurring in a game, meaning that the game is less about spamming the same card combo to win multiple games, and more about dealing with the scenario in front of you and the tools you have given yourself the chance to randomly draw in that deck. You could play 100 matches with one deck for each of the games I've mentioned, and based on what I've said, Elder Scrolls Legends should be the least repetitive, with more unique scenarios occurring throughout the matches. Maybe you would prefer to build a deck where almost the same chain of events happen every game, but I prefer uncertainty and variety. Variety is the spice of life. So, I'm going to be replaying the introductory story that this game has for the first time in years. I may have played it once since the original playthrough, but it should be a bit of a nostalgia trip for me. And I'm going to be introducing some of the key features of this game to you guys. So, for Elder Scrolls fans, in the timeline of the game's different settings, this is actually set hundreds of years after the events of Morrowind and Oblivion in the Third Era. It is set in the Fourth Era, where Skyrim is also set. It's set still 30 years or so before Skyrim, towards the start of the most recent war that's still taking place in Skyrim, with the rise of the new Aldmeri Dominion, commonly referred to as the Thalmor, which are an elite force of the Aldmeri Dominion that we find in the game of Skyrim. A lot of people don't realise that Skyrim is set 200 years after Oblivion, and Elder Scrolls Online is set 750 years before Oblivion, which would make Elder Scrolls Online set 950 years before Skyrim, approximately. I haven't done the exact numbers. While Morrowind was only set 6 years before Oblivion, or should I say Oblivion was set 6 years after Morrowind. So let's begin with some actual gameplay. I'm just going to cut and skip forwards because I realise there is kind of a spoiler here when I navigate my way to the first level of the game, having already completed this. Okay, here we are. I'm going to turn up the volume a bit for you guys to be able to enjoy this cutscene. Hopefully not too loud.
The Elder Scrolls show us what was, and what yet will be. And they have revealed much to me.
Spare us your stories, old man, unless they can sharpen spears. Our war chief is dying. Our enemies are massing for another attack. We must prepare for battle.
We should go, Kellen. We have the scroll we came for, and this one smells blood in the wind.
Patience, Nog. I have words yet to speak here. Stories can do surprising things, Spear Maiden, whether they are true or not. And this is one you should hear. It comes from the Great War that nearly ended the Empire. It began when the High Elves slaughtered every Imperial blade, calling themselves the new Aldmeri Dominion. They and their allies swept through the land, even capturing the Imperial city itself. The Emperor fled north, leaving Cyrodiil to the invaders. This is the story of a forgotten hero who changed the very course of history.
Bring me a warrior with strength and courage. That Nord looks adequate. Bring the mortal forth, and for his opponent, that one.
Hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry if any of it sounded unpleasant. I wanted to keep some audio in, but I did my best to edit out a bunch of unnecessary loud noises. Now that I have confused everyone who has never heard of Elder Scrolls or card games, I'm actually going to take the turn of bringing this down to a very basic level, explaining the basic concepts of the game. So this is the main screen you'll see when playing the game.
Why do I have a feeling they're going to kill us either way?
So this is the first creature we're going to see, foraging mud crab. And we've got a scuttler.
Obey your creature.
The crab says 1-1
Place the creature
and the scuttler says 1-2. You'll find out what that means shortly. A 3-1 desperate captive. Our scuttler does 1 damage, so we can actually kill the desperate captive, which has 1 health, leaving the foraging crab with 1 damage, 1 health, which cannot kill our Gerald forager with 2 power, 2 health.
They deal damage equal to their power.
So we've got a 3-1 Valenwood Trapper. And a 2-4 Defiant Prisoner. So this heavy battle axe is an item. it adds 4 power and 1 health to either of our creatures. So here we can equip it to either of our creatures to take out the opponent's creature, or we can just straight up attack our opponent's 8 life points. Now we have enough damage to kill our opponent and defeat them this round.
You're pretty good with that axe. We work together, we might have a chance.
So clearly from the dialogue there, we haven't killed Tyr. The two gladiators forced to fight against each other have decided to join forces, and this battle of creatures depicted on cards was actually an artistic metaphor for the sparring and parrying of hits that we might have just exchanged, and that is the way which a lot of the story can be explained as we play this game.
One of the blades. 2 of us, a dozen of them. It's almost a fair fight.
If Tyr is one of the blades in this time period, if you've played Skyrim, you might know some of his old allies who were blade members around this time, still decades before Skyrim. While they might have escaped, Tyr clearly became a prisoner here in the Imperial City, forced to fight in the arena. I can remember when I first played this, I really enjoyed this choice for a story setting, and being instantly drawn in. I always felt like there was a massive gap between Oblivion and Skyrim, with not quite enough explained, but obviously they left themselves enough room to make spin-offs like this. So we have a scuttler again, and in this game we have 2 lanes. This is the normal number of lanes you'll see in a match on this game. So now we need to defeat the Daedric cultists, who have 12 health, Acolyte of Boethia. So here we can use the Orc Clansman to increase the damage that Scuttler has, and kill the Acolyte of Boethia, which puts us in a strong position at the start of the game. Makes sense for us to trade creatures and play our 1 power 2 health Scuttler. That's such a difficult word for me to say. And play our 1 power 2 health Scuttler on the left lane. Scuttler. So up here we can see all the previous turns that were taken in order. Cards that have died, cards that have been attacked, cards that have been played. So now that we've cleverly kept our 2 creatures together on the left lane, rather than losing my 2/1 Scuttler to this new 2/1 creature, our 1/2 Scuttler can trade with it instead, and we can keep the one that does more damage. But we've just drawn the Valenwood Huntsman, which deals 1 damage when it is summoned, so we can use this to kill the Dark Adherent instead. So Daedric High Priestess. She destroys an enemy with 2 power or less when she's summoned, so the AI opponent has chosen to destroy our Scuttler, the 2/1 Scuttler. We now have drawn an ability which is consumed on use. It's not a creature, it's an action. So we can deal 3 damage as a 1-shot ability. We can use this to destroy the creature that was just played, but we are going to kill the player with a combination of damage from this card and our creature. So it's important to be careful when reading the wording on cards, as sometimes they can be more useful than you think.
I'm guessing that's Reed.
These mortals must not be allowed to reveal Lord Narathan's plans. Destroy them.
So time for what seems like a boss fight, but we are still very much in the basics of the game. Reeve. Some sort of Dremora. Reeve has 20 life, but so do we. So this level is going to teach us about Magica, or Magica, or Mana. So the Fiery Imp I just played, it's a 1 power 1 health, but it also does 2 damage to the opponent's health directly every time it attacks. So Magica and our opponent's Magica both increase by 1 each turn, up to 12, which can go higher depending on card effects. Magica is spent or kept each turn, and is always replenished back to its maximum value for the current turn at the beginning of the turn. Never go above this, unless card effects say so, unlike the health of creatures, which does not regenerate each turn. Skingrad Patroller, you recognise from Oblivion. As well as the imps. The game has given us 3 Magica to spend this turn, but I think the best card to use is actually this 1 Magica Sunhold Medic, which would then leave us with only 2, which means we cannot use either of the other cards in our hand at this point. But the Sunhold Medic is going to give the Skingrad Patroller an extra 2 health, meaning it can kill the imp in its lane without dying. And then I plan to trade the Sunhold Medic for the other imp in the left lane. Okay, but this Prowling Hunger has buffed this imp, so it's going to kill our card without dying. Now I'm going to play Valenwood Huntsman into the left lane, killing the 2/1 imp, and expecting the 2/2 to trade with it this turn. There we go. So we'll use as much Magica as possible to put our 6/2 White Run Trooper into the left lane and let them trade on the right lane. Just to clarify, creatures in the left lane can't attack the right lane and vice versa. So they're going to counter with a 2 power creature, which they also draw a card upon summoning. It's a useful effect. And we're going to use the Crushing Blow this time on a creature to take that out and continue to attack our opponent's health. And we've got enough Magica this turn to be able to play 2 cards. So drawing a card with this card again, and another imp. And we've got another item we can equip to our creatures, so we'll just do that for vanity. We've got a 10/3 creature. Just to show you, we could take our opponent's health down to -8 if we wanted to. Blood will flow and my master will let loose darkness upon the world. So that was Reeve. On to chapter 4. Bandit Ambush.
The Dramora's words unnerved the hero. They journeyed north to meet Laneth, a sorceress friend of Tyr's, well-versed in Daedric matters. But the road ahead was far from clear.
Look what we have here. Standard fee. Hand over your coin or you die.
This is our road. Nobody passes without paying a tribute.
We haven't got any money. As for taking our lives,
Time to fend these guys off with our new skills.
For every 5 health
So you could say that our character's fighting in the left against a bandit, while Tyr's fighting another character in the right against the other bandit. So South Road Brigand 2-1. Could trade it with a Scuttler, but we're going to play our Sunhold Medic and use its +2 toughness on itself, so that we could trade it with this Brigand and ours would live. They're going to attack our health, they don't want to lose their creature for no reason. So Tyr advising that we kill creatures rather than aim for their health at this point. I'm going to play a 2-1 there, and a Scuttler as well. We've got the Magicka to use both. Going to take that one out. Worst case scenario, he kills one of our creatures, he's going for our health, okay. So, yes, every 5 health you lose, you break a rune. There's 3 showing on my health at the moment. And losing a rune means that you instantly draw a card. It's the way this game tests the player to carefully manage when they're going to attack their opponent, as they're going to be getting reinforcements as they lose health. So we're going to use the Battle Rage Orc, which has the keyword of charge, which means it can attack instantly the turn it was played. We can kill this 2-2. Using our 2-1 to kill their 3-2, and then we've got 2 creatures that do 1 damage each left to attack the opponent's health. Familiar South Road Brigand. We can take it out with our 1-1. And use all 4 of our Magicka to play a Whiterun Trooper. Now, I could attack the opponent with a Scuttler here, but if I do, I'll be giving them an extra card when their rune breaks. So I'm going to choose not to this turn. Okay, so that card summoned 4 1/1 creatures. And we've been given a card which does 1 damage to all creatures. We're going to attack the opponent's health first. The idea behind this is that some of the cards an opponent can draw when a rune is broken have the keyword of prophecy. Prophecy means that if the card is drawn from a rune breaking, it can be played instantly. So here I'm trying to draw the opponent out to play extra cards, so that when I cast the fireball and deal 1 damage to all enemies, I might even get to do that to even more enemies than we currently have in front of us. Some of the satisfying visual effects in this game make it so much better than physical cards, must admit. So once again, we can go above our opponent's creatures and just take them out. I think we'll do one more battle before this video gets too long.
Dominion guards.
Halt! We're looking for a rogue blade who matches your description.
There must be some misunderstanding.
What kind of misunderstanding?
The kind where you thought we'd come quietly.
So here are some of the occupying forces from the Arbari Dominion. So these guys are High Elves working for the High Elf country. They've invaded the Imperial country of Cyrodiil that we are in. So our opponent starts with 2/0/4 guards. Now guards have to be attacked before you can attack your opponent's health or any other creatures in the lane that do not have guard. It's been nearly 2 years since I played Magic the Gathering, and I've forgotten most of the card keywords, so I'm not even going to try and compare these to theirs. There we go.
Must be destroyed before you can attack other enemies in their lane.
So I'm going to put this 2-2 item on our 2-1, making a 4-3. We can take this guard out instantly, and then the creature remaining in the lane won't be able to kill us on its own. Okay, so using a firebolt and then buffing it to a 4-3. Bit of a waste because we can kill it this turn.
Awaiting your command. It shall be so.
You have no idea the power I wield.
This card deals damage to us on being summoned, 2 damage. I'm going to kill it immediately with the effect on Valen Woodhunt. He has the same card again, 2 damage to us, and another 0-4 guard. So this item gives us guard and 1-3 to one of our creatures. Take out both of their guards and play a 2-3 guard of our own in the left lane as well, setting us up with a rather nice defensive position. Okay, so Orc Clansman could come in and make this a fair trade. 3-3 for a 3-3. 3-4 can take out their 2-1, and our 4-4 is free to hit the opponent's health. This is a really nice guard now I'm playing. 3-6 Hive Defender.
You have no idea the power I wield. Their time grows short.
So it looks like we're slowly gaining the upper hand on the battlefield this round. I'm just going to go for the opponent's health. There you can see I must attack the guard first. I'm going to use this to kill all their creatures. Carry on doing damage to their health. They're going to flash some firebolts out and kill our lower creatures. And then we can take out our opponent. Okay, so that was a bit of an introduction to Elder Scrolls Legends. I'm going to be ending the video here. Hope you enjoyed something about this video. If I've gotten anything wrong as of now, please let me know in the comments. I'd actually love being corrected if I'm in the wrong about things. My name's Tom, planning to do a part 2 for this series. Thanks for watching.